or it is certainly up there. Yeah, he's got 9 games on it. So
there you go.
That could be another thing that we might have to put stock into. Instead, though, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on the bot and jungle with Pantheon and Lucian the focus. A lot of top laners are open. No top lane bans were here in the first 6, so you've got things like the Rumble available. You could even go things like the Gnar if you want to try and blind that. Jace is another blind that I suppose you could go.
True.
But there are other lanes like Ryze is still open if you want to try and give something over to HongQ and have that global pressure and that safe scaling.
Well, great timing there, Quax, because the Ryze gets locked in. Realm Warp global pressure and a scaling champion indeed. EDG's bans make, is a little bit of a head scratch. I do wonder if they're just trying to protect their bottom lane from getting run over by Gala and Vampire. That seems to be the case because they just went 1-2 Rumble Yone back to back. The volatility is still in the top side here for Edward Gaming.
All right, so EDG are not switching up where they want the ball to be,
Wait,
but instead
you called the Yone, by the way. Great job, Quax.
I mean, Bulldog had an amazing game on the Yone. If you have not watched that game, go watch it. It was a masterclass from the man, and he single-handedly, I think, gave EDG that W. So a lot of credit over to him just being able to have the comfort champion. And hey, you were talking about the Lee Sin for Xiaoxu, so we're both winning here, Slayer.
Yeah, you spoke on the Yone, though. We've had some amazing Yone performances.
We have.
Across this week alone. Cream had an amazing closeout game on the Yone. Yesterday, Care was doing crazy things on the Yone for a closeout for NIP. Actually, that was a game, 1 win. Still only wins for the Yone. We'll see if Bulldog can pick up on that trend. The Ambessa going to be the Rumble counter here for Xiaoxu. I love it. He just ran ZDZ over badly in game 1, and, well, this Ambessa can do similar things as long as it can survive that early phase of the top lane.
I really like this Poppy champion. I think it's great into the mobility that Ambessa and Lee Sin employ, but instead, we're going to be getting the Maokai for JDG. So
pairing.
I feel like it still gives you the lockdown we complimented him for with the Vi, where he was still able to get on some of those priority targets in game number 1. Didn't have the follow-up in this game. I think he does, and he's also able to unlock it a little bit sooner. Doesn't have to wait until level 6 like he did for that first match. So I think that JDG can play a little bit faster paced going into game number 2, which when you've got a champion like Yone, you want to make sure that he is as comfortable as possible, he is secure as possible, and you're giving him all the resources. Maokai, another champion that also doesn't really need gold in order to have relevancy at all points in the game. As we are going on to the second phase of draft, bot lane is still going to be the focus like it was in the first draft, Slayer, and I think similar to the first draft, we probably expect a lot of weak side to come through from Gala and Leaf.
Quax, by the way, remember when I mentioned that winning jungler that didn't take his blue buff and a level 1 blue buff until 6 minutes and 45 seconds? It was Guwon playing the Maokai. So supports your adage about not needing a lot of those resources. Well, I'm sure...
And he still won.
Yeah, he still won. JJ, I'm sure, will take his blue buff in a much more short succession. EDG, these last 4 bans, man, they are... This is just... You guys are scared of Gala Vampire. I mean, I don't know how else to describe this. You've banned Lucian Melio, Ezreal Bard. You're taking the Karma away for Ezreal Karma. You get rid of Callista, so there's no Callista Renata. They are trying to shoehorn JDG into playing a passive bottom lane by this point, especially if they steal away something like the Corki. That basically makes a lot of aggro lanes for JDG to go for here kind of off the table. I think Gala at this point is kind of forced into Hyperscaler, or maybe if he wants to look Ashe or Caitlyn.
Yeah,
But
Bard,
now
I think
Caitlyn feels a little weirder. Yeah.
I feel like Bard just needed to be the lock-in here for Parukia. You've got so much attention that needs to be paid toward the top side, and who better to accomplish that than the roamingest support that has ever roamed? JDG, though, I wouldn't be surprised if we just slam like Kate Lux here, unironically. Vampire loves his mages. I think Lux is right up his alley. He's played it before, I believe, in the split, and it's one of Caitlyn's best pairing. It gives you priority. Just lock that in. It's so good, and also just means Bard can't leave the lane because his AD carry is constantly under tower.
Don't tell Yanni this, Quax, but I do prefer for the aggro Kate lanes, Caitlyn Lux over Caitlyn Elise. I actually, personally, but you keep that secret. But Yanni, I'm sure, won't figure out here. Nico is also a fun option for Vampire.
Nico's an option.
I like this a bit more because I feel like JDG need that, like, catalyst for team fights. It feels a little rough to kind of try and navigate fights with Lee Sin first or like Ryze or Ambessa. Now Vampire can throw caution to the wind and set his team up to win some fights.
I do think, though, there is inherent risk on being able to lock in the Nico, because if you don't have that follow-up from the rest of JDG, you are still a very squishy champion. You can die really easily, and there are also a lot of tools to just disengage, right? You've got the Maokai and the Bard, so they can really push you away, or they can just Tempered Fate the ultimate to make it more difficult for you to get it off or for the follow-up to come through. So I think in the case of JDG, their biggest win condition is going to be finding those engages with the Nico, but having the follow-up necessary to make sure Nico doesn't actually go down. Because if you don't have a Lee Sin or an Ambessa backing you, it's going to be really difficult for you to transit a lot of your other damage dealers with the Ryze and the Caitlyn into that fight without either getting blown up or zoned off by things like the Bard, the Maokai, even the Yone Tempered Fate, I think can act as kind of a barrier of entry for a champion like Caitlyn to get involved. So I think JDG have a comp capable of team fighting. I'm not super happy with the fact that Nico seems like the only multi-man engage on their comp, but
yeah,
I feel that if they can just have follow-up from the top side, it shouldn't be an issue. On the other hand, though, EDG, they locked in the Yone. All of my attention is going to be paid toward the mid lane and being able to let him scale. We talked about how it was so hard for them to get any kind of modicum of gold into the Olaf for game 1. They've got to switch it around here for game number 2 with the Yone and with the mid lane.
Have to help out Bulldog. And I think that is a great adage from you, Quax, that, you know, JDG's ability to fight the way they want to, it's a lot less reliable than we would have seen from game number 1. But also, when you win a game in the fashion that JDG did for our first match, I'm never going to be mad at you for saying, game 2, we're playing confident. And that seems to be what JDG are going to do to try and sweep out their final series of the regular split. I could be so in such a slumber I'm in a coma, and if that guy rips a Jin Dong, I sit right up in my bed.
It's the one meme of the guy like it's the one meme of the guy like sitting back in his chair and then he leans forward.
Yep.
That's the JDG chants are always amazing when that guy is a part of them, as we're already seeing the range that both of these marksmen are coveting in this game. Leave obviously throwing out a Q, immediately hits onto Vampire, and Gala Vampire are just now trying to levy some of their own range to win out on the 2v2, which we expect in the early game. And I do think that if they can continue to do this, it'll be very difficult for Parukia to have influence over the top side of the map. So that just means you might need to get some rescuing from the Maokai in the early stages. But curiously enough, JunJia is actually tapping away from the bot lane, which is, I think, the right choice, because we talk about how important this top side is. But also, if you ever want to free up this Bard, I feel like you have to make at least a couple early visits in the first few minutes of the game.
Yeah, it's a kind of push and pull scenario, right?
Help me help you.
Yeah, exactly. If I can get the Bard out of the lane, I have an extra partner to follow me around for topside plays, but that's just not going to be the case right now. Parukia is on trap clearing duty, just making sure that none of these are possible for Leave even to accidentally step on, valiantly sacrificing his health. You know that Parukia is going to be, maxing those health potions in this lane, but look at this from Xiaofeng. Classic Xiaofeng Lee Sin antics, and he hits his first Sonic Wave of the game. They're bringing the wave up. We'll see if the dive will be committed. Both heals already coming out here. Vampire does not land a tether, though. Flashes away, but the Comet, I believe, gets the kill. That's first blood to Leave. A very messy start for JDG.
It's a very difficult situation for them, and I mean, they may have just given Bard the ability to roam around without actually needing to really do anything, as now Parukia is here.
Okay, flash from Xiaofeng. He's going to be able to hop over towards his teammate, but he loses out on the summoners. He's going to lose out on that bottom crab, likely the top crab, so that one messed up dive is having aftershock effects to the rest of this JDG early game.
It just felt like a missed timing from JDG on the dive. I hope we get a replay of it because I feel that the Sonic Wave was a little too early from Xiaofeng. He wanted to cancel the back that Parukia was going for, but it timed out before the wave actually crashed, so there was really no ability for Lee Sin before the heal came out too to actually get damage down, and then Vampire misses the Tangle Barbs. Basically everything that could have gone wrong there did, and it did result in Leave getting first blood on this Varus, so good start here for Edward Gaming.
They're just going to keep pouring it on. Vampire going to take a healthy chunk there, trying to hold the wave for his AD carry, which a valiant effort nonetheless is accomplished. Gala should be able to collect this very huge wave with relative ease. Vampire will, of course, have to reset. We'll see if they can try to deploy him on the map. Does look like he's going to try and walk his way towards mid lane. You pointed out in game one with our Seraphine Lulu matchup, supports didn't even move at all until they'd gotten their ultimates. Should expect a much different game. You can already see it, both Vampire and Parukia on a crash course towards this mid lane.
So Parukia does get freed up to roam. This is exactly what we wanted to see. Maybe not in the manner in which we wanted to see it, with JJ impacting the bot lane, freeing up the Bard, you know, freeing him from prison, essentially. Leave.
Okay, is able to back up in time. No Tangle Barb to come out.
Parukia making his way back to the lane, and Vampire going to, I would assume, likely be zoned off, but because of that failed dive, it just gives a lot more wiggle room over to the Bard to make visits toward that mid lane. So JDG, one of the big ramifications of giving that kill over or failing that dive is, yeah, you give a kill over to Leave, but I think the biggest thing, honestly, for the long-term effects of this match is you give room for Bard to have influence in the mid lane, which is exactly what your bot lane comp was built around preventing.
Exactly. And the bottom lane-centric game plan should continue, knowing that an Infernal Soul is up and for the taking. We, of course, have both our junglers on this bot side as well. But it's JJ that is threatening to tick over towards that level 6. You can see him already getting initial vision down. Maybe wants to play for that crab respawn, but so the crab would get him level 6, right? This wolf camp will get him close enough there, and the crab will get him near. But for Xiaofeng, that crab will not tick him over to level 6.
It won't, but I think it will get him one camp away from it. Xiaofeng looking for round 2, but this time with HongQ.
Yeah, there's the magical journey. Parukia's going to create
Leave
some space.
just left.
They're trying to recreate this dive. It's the flash twisted advance, but it's too little too late. Leave is going to find the kill. JJ will find a trade back, though. HongQ hurting, but there's no damage left here. It's a bramble smash. JJ hoping to find that second kill, but he won't be able to. Again, JDG, it's not clean on the bot lane dive, but this time they at least come away with the kill.
It's 1-for-1. Bulldog is going to get a plate, though, after taking that reset. So Yone going to be eaten pretty well from that Realm Warp by HongQ. And I said Leave left. There's a pun for Leave. We're really just checking them all out. I don't know if that counts as a pun. Maybe just like a play on words, but I'm counting it. I don't care.
This gives me real square. Every rectangle is a square, but not every square is a rectangle vibes. Every pun is a play on words, but not every play on words is a pun.
Yeah, I feel like that's how it should work. They should teach that one in schools. If you're ever doing like English, maybe that's like the English version of the math term, right?
That's how you get the math kids into English class.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would work on me. Personally, or the opposite would probably work on me because I'm more of an English kid than a math kid.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Quax. Other way around would have helped me out. Started to feel the pains of Bulldog picking up some of that early pressure in the lane as HongQ makes that roam. Going to take quite a hankering of damage there, and now has to respect the fact that a Fate Seal dive could happen into a one-shot scenario. Definitely a very inspiring sign for EDG fans to see that Bulldog and ZDZ are having much more comfortable lanes this time round.
007 JunJia, or JJ rather, is wrapping around to maybe look for a 2v2. They know that Xiaofeng is in that bush, though.
They do. Soul's going to tether back. Bulldog maybe looking for a Fate Sealed. He's going to go off that Nature's Grasp. Parukia flash for a slow twist advance comes across. Dragon's Rage kick does not make sure Xiaofeng can survive. Some turret shots is all he's going to get is help, but he drops once more.
Good CC chain there from EDG, and the follow-up on the Twisted Advance going through all of the Lee Sin mobility. It doesn't matter where he goes. JDG will follow, and it will be a kill going over to the Maokai. So good look there from EDG, or sorry, the Yone, which is extremely good because that is where their win condition lies. Meanwhile, we saw that JDG actually took some grubs, and that'll just give a little bit more push power, a little bit more potency to taking down these upcoming and incoming plates in the lanes. I will say, though, I'm not sure how much value it'll derive after the laning phase, because this is a pretty big team fight comp with not a lot of side lane threat.
Side lane threat. There's just laning threat that I keep seeing every time we pan towards the spot side. The reason the gold lead isn't in EDG's favor, is the fact that Gala and Vampire are once again manhandling a bot lane tier 1 turret in the laning phase. First turret should be a breeze for JDG here, and Xiaohao, despite some errors, is still confident playing towards that bot side. Chains of Corruption, instant cleanse there from Gala. He didn't even lose a step, and the Piercing Arrow will not find that kill. So finally, Leave can alleviate some pressure. But now the question I'd like to pose to you, Quax, is it is scary to see Gala this fed on the Caitlyn, but I do dare say the EDG have the right dive comp to make sure they can punish this Caitlyn, especially whenever she doesn't have summoners.
Maw procced.
Public Execution, not going to land. HongQ, though, on the way with a Realm Warp to bail out his top laner. Double flash. Xiaoxu's trying to create some space. Gets a big shield just in time. And his partner in crime, HongQ, will pick up the kill.
That Maw unironically saved him there as, Okay.
Oh, no steal. There's the Bramble Smash smite down for JDG. So first dragon of the game, a little bit earlier than last time. Goes over to Edward Gaming.
Bramble Smash, or Q Smite from Maokai is deceptively high damage. Now Gala doesn't have enough damage to dissuade this.
Fate, man. What a great Tempered Fate. Turret, though, does mean the Sonic Wave connecting. Xiaohao can trade out Parukia. Gala drops, but it does come at a price as this game's starting to open up a bit more.
Look at HongQ. HongQ is going toward the bot lane. He's not going to mid, where Bulldog is just continuing to siege the mid lane tier 1. He's got 4 plates at this point, 10 minutes, almost 11 into the game as this Yone, so he should be able to actually get his first item on the next back, I would imagine. That just makes it so difficult to deal with the Yone. He'll have so much damage to work with in these upcoming team fights, and that's exactly what we wanted to see from EDG as Xiaoxu is just burning. What?
He just got beat down. That was clinical.
That was revenge.
Yeah, revenge solo bolo. He gets one back onto Xiaoxu. Big move here for EDG as they start to take a grasp over this gold lead. Good start here for EDG. That top side you wanted to see really step up. I know you highlighted the Yone, but this Rumble 2 all going according to plan here for EDG.
ZDZ having a good redemption laning phase. We haven't seen a lot of impact, but I think a solo kill for that Rumble, not only does it mean that it's going to be difficult for Ambessa to actually engage into these later team fights, but it also just means that if this Ambessa's squishier, I've always said that I think the biggest difference between an early and a late game Ambessa is how tanky she is. Once you have things like the Death Stance, once you have things like the Eclipse, you are so difficult to take down. If you're under-leveling her like this, she is going to be super squishy, super susceptible to death, as she almost was. Xiaoxu lands the public execution and gets away.
Oh no. Did not see that Pop Blossom coming. Tempered Fate is going to land to buy Bulldog some time. Going to unbind his soul, trying to create some space here. But there's the Dragon's Rage kick. He will recombine with that soul and dash back out towards his turret. Parukia, good save there. Bulldog was caught.
And there's the interaction we were really warning against in the Draft Slayer, where even though you can have a good Pop Blossom to engage a fight or look for a pick, it just gets immediately Temper Fated, and Xiaoxu is the next target that EDG want to look for.
Yeah, he did everything right there, flashes, but still, the branches of this tree from JunJia is continuing to chase another Twisted Advance, and they're able to commit that dive under 2 different turrets to get ZDZ another kill.
And they chase into the tier 2. I was a little bit worried because of the overheat from ZDZ pretty early on in that dive that he wouldn't be able to follow up just because of the self-silence, but Leandri's tankiness makes it enough for him to actually complete that kill, and all of JDG are on the bot side. So ZDZ will get himself some plates on top of the kill, and this Rumble is just continuing to increase in that threat level.
HongQ popping the Ghost preemptively, does dodge out on a nice Q3 there from Bulldog, so no knockup gonna land. There is, of course, no Nature's Grasp. Tempered Fate still off the board. No real ultimates to threaten HongQ there, but still wanted to use that Summoner. As we start looking a bit into the future here, Quax, to see how EDG can use this small gold lead that they're holding on to. Of course, a majority of it is the fact that ZZ's up a whole 1,000 over Xiaoxu. Rift Herald's in a minute. Second Drake of the game, potentially for EDG, is also not far behind. So we're going to start getting some, hopefully, big objective fights led by EDG.
We are, and I mean, the big one holding down this lead from just being 700 on JDG is Gala. He picked up a lot of plate gold early on just because of the nature of having Caitlyn Nico being able to get a lot of income for himself in the laning phase. But I feel like that is on borrowed time. As we said, the Caitlyn is going to find it very difficult to get involved in these fights if the engage isn't there from the side of JDG, as Xiaohao just followed him to Narnia.
Yeah, he canceled a Fate Seal dash, forced Bulldog to flash. Vampire looked for a Pop Blossom on the back end. It's not going to land. Nature's Grasp is going to grab hold of HongQ. But there's no cooldowns for Bulldog to really push back forward. It's ZDZ that's looking to push forward as he continues to punish Xiaoxu with these overheats.
And Xiaoxu is going to be forced to reset. He doesn't have teleport either, so I'm wondering where he's going to go right off rip. I think he understands that this tower is gone, but Dragon is up in about 10 seconds.
Damn.
He's going to actually stay. ZDZ, there's no maw for you, Xiaoxu.
Oh, but there's no wave, and he didn't kill off the turret, so 2 errant shots from the protective structure for Xiaoxu is going to force him to back off as well. JJ and Bulldog are onto this Dragon, and JDG are going to say, you can have it. First 2 Drakes of the game over to Edward Gaming. They have an Ocean Soul to now play for. Not necessarily what I'm sure they were hoping for out of the remaining souls there, Quax.
And look at where JDG are going on the redeploy, potentially trying to set up for a pick, but centering themselves around this Herald to threaten the objective. Yone, though, is on the bot side. He's just farming. He even has teleport up, so if EDG want to take a fight around that Rift Herald, they can get the Yone involved. And Xiaoxu, again, I feel like is just on raid boss duty. I mean, he is dealing with ZDZ in his own lane, and now he's being sent over to the bot side to deal with the Yone that is super far ahead at this point in the game. This man is just having to constantly fight like the level 100 bosses on the side of Edward Gaming.
Yeah, and what really hurts about this one is, he went for that Hex Drinker. That's not going to help you at all against Bulldog. So that definitely feels particularly extra rough, but hey, if it's getting HongQ in a more comfortable position, so be it. He's going to be such a big win con on this rise. Got some stacks going towards that Roa, has a full tier stack towards the Seraphs as well, and, well, setting up his own little espionage trick here, calling over his support, saying, this guy doesn't know I'm in the brush. Pops out. He'll look to get the Rune Prism down, but he picked a bad time. ZZ just overheats and deletes him.
Holy crap. Okay, now they're going to be able to...
All right, he flashes out. It's the ZDZ game, Quax. And he ults the wave.
And he ults the wave. All right, ZDZ. Gold star for the redemption game. It was so rough against Xiaoxu in game number 1, but he is showing up here in game number 2 on the Rumble. We talked about the high priority of this champion because both top laners absolutely love the pick, and we're seeing why.
Oh, nice. No slamming in the mid-tier 1 turret there with Shelly as well. A beautiful Tempered Fate slows that down. JDG just can't find their footing in this game, and they're getting jumped on. Xiaofeng going to get claimed by the Nature's Grasp, and JJ will find that kill. Vampire getting slowed up as Parukia continues to chase, forces a flash, but here comes Bulldog. Gets the Q3 knock up, but does not commit the Fate Seal to push any further. They'll just take their big kill onto Xiaofeng and walk out.
Probably wise not to commit the Fate Seal because he was running out of time with the Soul Unbound. So ulting there probably doesn't get him a kill and just means he has one less resource in case JDG continue to try and jump onto him, which has been their plan for the past few minutes. They have thrown the entire kitchen sink at being able to find a pick onto this Yone, but routinely by Edward Gaming, they have been thwarted. So that's not working out. The Caitlyn win condition in the early game isn't working out. The team fights are not going to be any better. JDG are running out of options by the minute, Slayer, and I feel like the fights just increasingly get worse for them. You've still got the win condition on the rise, but I feel less confident about that because of how ahead this Yone is starting to get and the fact that ZDZ just one-shot him.
And most of this JDG comp is going to have to play right in the wheelhouse of these solo lanes. Pretty short range. It's really only that Caitlyn that has some safety in space.
Yeah.
So it does look pretty rough here for JDG. Got to find a way to stem the bleeding somehow. Baron's up in about a minute. A pick onto Parukia would be a nice way to start. But again, the Tangle Barb there from Vampire doesn't land. Xiaofu's going to hit the Sonic Wave, and he will finally finish off that kill. Amply earned by the Dragon's Rage. Pushing for more here as well. Forcing JunJia for a Bramble smash down to create some space. As JDG start to kind of combine around this mid lane. They're looking for more here. They're diving. The delivered Pop Blossom on a 2 from Vampire. And the roots are just marvelous. HongQ picks up the kill on to leave. The turret's gone as well. And they get rid of JunJia. And now it's Raid Boss ZDZ that needs to find these kills. But Xiaofu's able to limp away. Public Execution stalls him out in his tracks. And it's a shutdown double kill to HongQ.
And JDG might have just found their footing. There was no Bulldog in the fight. Parukia wasn't there to Tempered Fate. The initial engage from the Pop Blossom. Vampire finds 2. And JDG make their mark on game 2.
Thought they might even look to chase down Bulldog, but they'll stop with the feast where they got it. Just like that, EDG's gold lead has been nearly eradicated. And we'll have to see how much this gold really starts to show up in those items, especially HongQ, Quax. I really want to see what this back looks like from him. But we'll start with the heroics from JDG, kicked off by Xiaofu on his classic Lee Sin.
And there's the young hands of Xiaofu. Not only does he get the inset kick with the ward, but he lands the second Sonic Wave. And it just ends up becoming a dive. You've got no way to disengage the Pop Blossom plus the Realm Warp. I do like that JDG have had this like trial and error situation where they're saying, all right, we're gonna Pop Blossom just straight up to see if this works. All right, that didn't work. Cross that one off. Okay, next we're gonna try and have him disguise as a minion and then Pop Blossom. Maybe that'll do the trick. Okay, that didn't work. Now let's try and Realm Warp him, and they'll have no time to react to the Pop Blossom, and that worked. So JDG may have just found their way to get a guaranteed Nico engage. Just maybe don't have Parukia involved to try and thwart it.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be there to thwart it, and not to take the wind out of your sails there for a bit, Quax, but we did see the EDG get an uncontested Ocean Drake to get them onto Soul Point. Again, though, do feel like Ocean Soul in a game like this isn't as valuable, and I think JDG are starting to show that by how little attention they've paid to this Drake stacking.
It is pretty risky because it just means one more dragon and suddenly there is an Ocean Soul on a Maokai, on a Rumble, on a Yone. These champions with increasingly low cooldowns that can continuously apply the heal the soul brings to them. But I do think JDG made the right call to give up that dragon. They were on the redeploy. They didn't have all their ultimates either because they just used them to siege the mid-tier one to win out on that fight. So it's probably the safer option to say, hey, we got a gold lead. Let's not immediately risk throwing it away when we have suboptimal conditions.
Yeah, instead they'll let those big carries cash in their gold. The Seraphs is fully completed here for HongQ. He also gets that Seekers on the way towards Azanya's. He is, of course, level 15 as well, taking the gold lead back over Bulldog. He's looking to go on to Xiaoxu. There's the Realm Warp through HongQ. This time, doesn't land the timing as well as that first Realm Warp he had to save his top laner. So Bulldog gets out, and they do spot HongQ Realm Warping on the bot side. EDG wondered if they'll try a sneaky Baron of their own, but they'll just get rid of the vision.
It does feel kind of bad that HongQ is going for the Zhonya's third item, but you look at the lockdown from champions like the Maokai, like the Bard, even like the Yone with the Tempered Fate and all of the Steel Tempest procs, or third procs with the knockup. there is good reason for him to go more defensive, I think. Even though you're looking at this Rise as the big late game hyper carry for JDG and the big damage dealer that he'll have to become, building things like the Actualizer would obviously help with that. You need to make sure first and foremost that he's not dying. So I do think he's making the right call with this build path. It just kind of sucks because you want him to do damage because that is the way you're going to win the team fights, right?
Yeah, it's the trade-offs. And it's going to be a bit more painful for HongQ, but they're going to continue to commit to these side lane plays.
They have to
They're
get this
bringing
kill, by the way.
over, yeah, Xiaohao, but Bulldog's doing a ton of damage. Execution's is going to whiff. Flash, Pop Blossom to come down to try and get Bulldog off of Xiaoxu. They get enough shield. Xiaohang's going to have the kill, but let's see if EDG can pounce on this Baron. It's not going to help, but Parukia just gets deleted by HongQ. The magical journey, the only thing to save him, but that should grind any Baron hopes to a halt here for Edward Gaming.
Locket also saved him. That shield coming through, I think the Deathfire touch burn probably would have gotten the kill if the shield wasn't there to save Parukia. So living on a sliver, HongQ almost getting a solo kill. All of EDG are going to be forced to reset and answer for that side lane pick they got onto Bulldog. First death of the game for the Yone, knocking him down a peg, and they did that to the Rumble earlier, so the scaling threats, or the solo lane threats, I should say, for EDG, not nearly as scary as they were about 5 minutes ago, Slayer, which I think is going to be really important going into this Dragon in a little less than a minute and a half, because like we illustrated, this is Soul if EDG can get it, but I think if JDG don't allow them to have this, it is going to be their time to start being the proactive team and making moves on the map.
Talking about some proactivity, is that the way we'd like to describe our AD carry builds? I'll start with the less weird one. Gala has the Collector IE combo.
Well, okay.
Yeah. That's the quirky one. Thoughts? I don't have any thoughts. I don't know what to make of this.
Bastion Breaker just got buffed. It got its price. It got its price reduced, which is the big thing. Hold that thought, JunJia is gonna be taken down to half. He's gonna heal off the Nico clone a little bit. That's a fun interaction, but still, you don't want your jungler, basically the main character of any objective contest, being down in HP.
Nope, definitely not. But Maokai has some self-sufficient healing instead. Xiaoxu is looking like he wants to try and chase down ZDZ, following him all the way up to his wave. Both these top laners do have that TP. ZDZ going to look to make his recall, as the bot lane seems to be the center focus of our next fight. We are 10 seconds out from that Ocean Soul Drake hitting the Rift, and JDG are really trying to hold this fight line.
They are, and I think one thing that EDG are going to be finding is the struggle because they had to... There we go. I will refrain from the obvious reference you're setting up for me, Mr. Hardstuck Castulo 80 carry.
Oh no. All right, they got the Ocean Soul. There's that Seeker's Arm Guard, providing some use here for HongQ. He's going to turn right back on the Bulldog. The Seraph Shield and the Flash out gets him away from dodge. And now Pandemonium's just going to break out. ZDZ teleports into the fray, but he takes a magical journey out. Does drop the Equalizer down on the way away. Bulldog gonna flash forward for a Q3 knockup, goes for the Tempered Fate, but the Pop Blossom is gonna grab JunJia as the team continues to try and kite back. Sonic Wave gonna land. Xiaohao goes in, wants the big kick, and he's gonna find JunJia. Parukia too far forward as well. They assassinate the jungler, but ZDZ gets to burn through the JDG bottom lane. HongQ Realmwarts back into the waiting arms of Bulldog. And it goes completely topsy-turvy with ZDZ finding the triple kill and the fight win for EDG.
It looked so good at the start. JDG got the dragon. They got a really good re-engage from Xiaohao leading the charge. But it isn't enough. ZDZ gets access to the backline, and he burns them to ash, Slayer.
Wow. Well, at least JDG do, shut down that big win con. But they've given over that goal lead. And now with those kills over to Bulldog and ZDZ, both these guys are going to hit 3 items as we take a look back.
And I mean, good Zhonya's here from HongQ. Delays a lot of what EDG were looking to do to burst down this Rise, but it also takes him out of the fight, which is a little unfortunate because as we'll see later, JDG re-engages, but they don't have their Rise to really back them up. So we get a nice little clip here. Bulldog is able to get through the fight, and then this is where I thought JDG could turn it. He snaps back to his original body. JunJia's the only one in that area for a little bit, so they burst down the Maokai, they tear apart EDG, but then crucially, they get separated, and before you can even blink, EDG or ZDC, wrong tri-code, has eliminated 2 of them, almost killed 3 of them, but still manages to get himself a triple kill. This Rumble showing that he might have gotten down, but he is certainly not out.
Ooh, Nature's Grasp, though, here from JJ. Not going to find the mark, so there's one big ultimate off the board. Realm Warp's going to come back up. By the way, ZDZ cashing in his big fight. Picks up a big old fancy hat. Rabadon's nature hat. So the damage is still ludicrous. The IE is also through here for Bulldog. So the damage of these soul lanes is massive. As JDG looks for a Realm Warp. Now the Temper Fate's going to come down and grab 2. Bulldog off to the side looking for a flank, but HongQ is mincemeat for this EDG comp. The Pop Blossom doesn't land, and Bulldog is going to find access to Gala on the backline and executes him as he rebinds his soul. JDG just went way too forward, felt way too big for their britches, and it might just cost them this Baron.
Honestly, I'm surprised it just gave them 2. That was a really disrespectful Realm Warp from HongQ. They still have their jungler around, but Xiaohao resets, so there's going to be no possibility for a steal. JDG overconfident, and they get punished for it. Baron worn on all 5 members of Edward Gaming.
And just like that, EDG back in the driver's seat, courtesy of JDG. And yeah, all this is head-scratching to me, Quax.
Right. The Tempered Fate was really good.
What's that Pop Blossom, bro?
And then the Pop Blossom, I mean, Vampire just had really nowhere to go. Even if he goes forward to try and get onto a majority of EDG, he's got no follow-up, right? I mean, most of his follow-up died when Rise immediately got destroyed. So HongQ, being the main casualty there, I think just fizzled out the play before it could even really begin. EDG, as we go back to live, 3,000 gold up. Xiaohao is going to get a cheeky little steal of the Empowered Scuttle Crab there. As I feel like Bulldog and ZDZ are right back to the power scale they initially were at the start of this game when they were ahead. Bulldog almost 2,000 gold up over his counterpart. ZDZ is 2,000 gold up over his counterpart. And this is right before the soul could potentially be claimed by EDG.
Yeah, that Bulldog healing felt real nice. Took so much damage from Gala, who he finds with the Fate sealed, but a nicely timed kick out from Xiaohao will save his AD carry, and they'll surrender the tier 2 turret instead.
I mean, who cares, right? Bulldog has teleport. He has the empowered reset from the Baron. He'll be able to join up in a fight around this Drake if the situation calls for it. But you can see JDG's positioning. They've got really no way into this fight. The Maokai saplings are patrolling every brush around this part of the jungle. So if you try to sneak in, you're going to get spotted out eventually. And that just makes it so difficult for you to have any access to this objective. So I think Edward Gaming should be able to claim the soul. I say that, and it seems like JDG maybe have snuck in here despite the Maokai's existence.
Yeah, there's no Nature's Grass or Fate Sealed for the time being, so maybe just playing some respectful League of Legends here.
All right, Xiaohao, the starter spot is yours if you get this.
Yeah, all right, you steal this Ocean Drake. You're going to start our playoffs off. Vampire going to do a pop loss on the backside, but they find ZDZ! He didn't have Azanias. There's the kill picked up. They'll trade HongQ back out. Spike goes down, and the dragon is secured by JJ. Gala desperately trying to kite back. A great Zanias buys him some space, and Xiaohao executes Gala, and he's able to flash back towards his top laner. Flashes galore starting to come out here, as Xiaohao just won't drop. The public execution doesn't hit. The Fate Sealed will, and it grabs Gala by the haunches, shut down to the last remaining JDG carry. It's only Xiaoxu to at least clean one back up, but it's Ocean Soul to Edward Gaming.
EDG get the Ocean Soul, and it lets them live for so long. JJ was on a sliver of HP, but the Soul plus the Protoplasm, he can keep fighting, keep kiting, and keep peeling for his damage dealers. EDG lose 3, but they win out on the fight regardless.
We'll get a look back at this absolute chaos because it's exactly the start that JDG wanted.
It is, and They immediately take down ZDZ, but then HongQ just steps up too far. The Rise ends up dying, and Bulldog is able to just rip these health bars asunder. Doesn't initially kill anybody, and then snaps back, but it feels so difficult for JDG to win out on a fight because there's just so many tools that EDG have to break them up, to split up their ability to 5v5 as a unit. You can see because they're split up, the Yone can just pick them off one by one. JunJia can section them off one by one. It makes their job so much easier because I think when JDG are able to group up as a 5-man unit, when they aren't splitting away from each other, EDG have such a difficulty trying to single out a certain member, but that has just not been the case over these last couple of team fights. It was around the mid game where we thought JDG could come back, but these last few, Slayer, have been really rough. And now that Ocean Soul is acquired for EDG, it's gonna get even worse.
And things will get a little bit easier for Edward Gaming when you factor in the summoner difference as well. Gala had to use both the cleanse and flash to make that fight work. Still ends up dying to Bulldog. And with all that lockdown we've been talking about from this EDG draft all game long, Gala's going to have a really hard time making this, you know, albeit full crit 4-item Caitlyn work. Because at this point, if JDG are going to find a big fight win, it really feels like it's going to have to be Gala. Because HongQ, the last 3 big plays we've seen in this game, it's just been question mark after question mark from this guy.
And it's so difficult because the main threat to you as the Caitlyn is going to be the Yone. If he breathes on you, you're dead. It's just, you're not surviving any bit of damage that he throws your way. And it's hard to be able to lock this guy down because he's got a QSS. Parukia has a Mikhail's. How are you ever going to be able to CC this guy? He even has a shield bow, so he's going to be having a shield on top of all of the cleansing he can do. The main threat can easily kill you, but you cannot easily kill the main threat. That is just a nightmare scenario for the Caitlyn, who, like you said, is at the strongest point in the game that she can be, but is so susceptible to just getting one shot.
And I see a BF sword in the Bulldog inventory. Guy might even, if this game goes long enough, complete a GA. So even if you kill him, he might resurrect back up here. Baron, of course, will be resurrecting once more in about 15 seconds, and that's what EDG are completely playing for as they dominate the Vision game on the top quadrant of the map. It's all red on this side.
It is, and I think JD Gaming, they know that this Baron is going to be started. They know it's going to get one shot, but they cannot do anything about it. So now I'm just wondering what Edward Gaming can get done. You've got the Soul. You're going to have the Baron. If you can put this game to an unwinnable state in the next 2 minutes, I think you're good. But because you're all focused on this top side, you can actually see Vampire gets a little, very brief opportunity to lay down some vision on this bot side because there's an Elder coming up in less than 2 minutes, Slayer, and that could be, and probably is, the only road to salvation for JDG to find a win at this point.
A very desperate, narrow window of salvation, and it doesn't help the Vampire. Is going to miss the Pop Blossom. He Mikhails himself out of the Chains of Corruption, but the Nature's Grasp finds him all the same. This Nico just not finding the value that we... that is criminal. Oh my god. If you're voting All-Pro off of this game alone for Vampire, he should not get your vote. I hate to say it.
Amazing timing. Thank you, producer Alk. As double inhib taken down, waves are synced beautifully. EDG should just be able to close out this game, Slayer.
There's just no engage tools here for JDG anymore. They're at the mercy of EDG and at the mercy of Bulldog. But at some point, they're going to have to pull the trigger because their Nexus turrets are going down. Chains of Corruption at least going to whiff there from Leave. But the Ocean Soul's topping them off. One Nexus turret down. Xiaoxu to go for a hero kick, and he is going to find ZDZ, but he goes into the stasis. Bulldog does get onto HongQ in the background, but the Public Execution does get onto ZDZ. The Ocean Soul not going to heal him up enough, and they've got Edward Gaming on the back foot here. So many blinking health bars, but JDG still feel like they can keep their base protected for now.
And they've got to heal. They've got to go back to the fountain. ZDZ is dead for 50 seconds, and Elder is coming up in 20. They have to get their health bars back up, ready to fight for this Elder, because it's going to be a 4v5, Slayer. This could be the moment JDG have waited for.
A 5-on-4 of Miracles, but they need to fix their waves first. Mere seconds until this Elder comes up.
There's so many super minions.
There's so many saplings, too, to walk through, and the Chains of Corruption comes down onto Xiaohao. There goes his GA, but they're going to realm warp into the background. Nope, it's a fake out. Going to keep them on their toes. The TP coming through here, but Xiaohao is so low. He eats another piercing arrow. Vampire's HP is going down as finally we can talk about Leaves damage on the Varus. He pokes out HongQ. Look at all the value this Varus is bringing. He's done so much damage in these last couple of seconds, and those are valuable seconds because ZDZ has respawned. Now he teleports back in here. It feels like it's going to have to be a steal angle from Xiaohao, or this game is mincemeat as HongQ is going to burn down. The shields will save him for now, but Vampire will be the trade instead. Elder is being heralded. The Sonic Wave will connect. Xiaohao has a way in. He needs the hero steal to fight it, to save the game, and he won't get it. JunJia secures Elder Drake, and that completes the Game 2 win for EDG.
They've got the Elder, they've got the Soul, they don't have the Baron anymore, it seems like, but that's not going to matter. Bulldog has the Baron at least, but it's not going to matter what buffs they do and don't have. EDG, after almost 40 minutes, should be able to close this one out.
Yeah, definitely if Bulldog lands the double knockup of dreams onto the carries, EDG will not go quietly to the play-in tournament. We're going to a Game 3, JDG EDG style.
Love to see it. Would have it no other way, Slayer, because it is the last day of the regular season for the entire year. So we got to get some bangers under our belt before we depart here for the best of 3. And oh boy, did EDG provide us with a banger in game number 2. We talk about the Bulldog win condition. We get the Bulldog win condition. The Yone pick. There's a reason this man has been styling on the champion for the split. And I love to see, like we said, so much energy that EDG have, so much of the momentum that we talk about for this squad is confined to this mid laner and a lot of the recent performances that he has had. And that game right there is proof if I've ever seen one.
Just seems like it's the week of Yone, Quax. If you lock in this champion this week, you're going to find some big wins.
Wants to buff the character.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
let that sink in.
Don't even get me started for the Worlds angle. Listen, we're all going to be mad now, Quacks, but when we see the highlight reel plays that some of those buff champions coming in are going to have at Worlds, I think we'll feel a little bit better, even if it does kind of ruin our solo queue games a bit with the champions they're buffing. But can't complain as a viewer when our Yone players are showing out like that.
We absolutely can't, and I feel like the rest of EDG deserve a lot of credit too. I mean, JunJia was so good. JunJia and Parukia, honestly, were so good at being able to just provide support, provide cover. They were just as instrumental for raising up the Yone in the difficult times as the Yone was for excelling when he eventually had those good times in the late game. There was that slump in the middle portion of the match, Slayer, where it looked like JDG could win, but I do think because we had a really good Tempered Fate from Parukia, because we had really good engages from JunJia, they found a way back into the game, and they were able to claw back what looked like a pretty even game at some point. I mean, you can even see at the 25-minute mark, it is very close in gold. They just immediately turned it right back in their favor.
I also love that, we'll obviously get into the highlights in a second here, but the funniest thing, we didn't say Leaves' name at all in this game. He was getting, pushed under his turret the entire laning phase, didn't do a ton in those big fights. And my thought kind of, Quax, was like, oh, well, if the Varus gets off to a slow start in this game, with all the scaling, like, his damage is not going to matter. But truly, that Elder is won by Leave because he gets that GA on his own almost. He hits a ton of extra piercing arrows. He chunks down this JDG comp before they can ever walk up to make that 5-on-4 you were pointing out ever happen. He basically eliminated the man advantage that JDG had from the base defense.
And what a redemption game from ZDZ as well. He was getting absolutely demolished by Xiaoxu in game number 1. Game 2, though, he was putting the hands on him. So a lot of credit there over to him for having a really good Rumble game, getting those solo kills, evading those ganks. And even when he was getting found by things like the Lee Sin, he still didn't let that deter him from having good angles to re-engage a lot of those fights. So great bounce back game for the top laner of EDG, and just great bounce back game from everyone. I think game 1 was really rough, and they all worked together in those team fights to make sure that they could take us to game 3.
Yeah, especially the solo lanes. I think solo lanes in general just had a massive bounce back in this game too. And now I pose an interesting question to you about that, Quax, because you were, appropriately singing the phrases of ZDZ, especially for his laning phase, the opening of this game. But in this late game stage, he does get caught a lot. He gets caught at the Ocean Soul Drake. He gets caught in this fight as well. And it feels like it's Bulldog that rescues a lot of these plays. So I ask you, Quax, who do you feel is more deserving of this Pog?
So you're actually going to maybe think that I'm crazy. I think both Bulldog and ZDZ did really good this game, but my secret pick would unironically be Parukia. I feel that even though he got caught out in that one exchange around the Baron pit, which did admittedly open the door for JDG to maybe find a comeback, a lot of the initial looks that JDG tried to go for, a lot of these initial plays that they tried to throw on the map were thwarted because the Bard was there. The Bard was able to roam, influence the mid lane. Parukia was just in the right place at the right time constantly, so I have to give him a lot of credit for being able to play a champion that he's not exactly known for at a really good level, and continuing to accelerate a lot of these solo laners. I feel like they were propped up in large part, especially early on, because this Bard was constantly there to shadow them and basically make sure that they could have all of the highlight plays while not getting highlight played on.
Well, this is a highlight level smite from JDG. He was just on point with these this whole game. Xiaohao had multiple chances to really flip this game on its head. He could have stole that, I believe it was fourth Ocean Drake of the game to stop the Ocean Soul. Of course, stealing that Elder in that spot would have been massive for a base defense, but the veteran JDG, just smite key is better on that one. So
that's why JunJia is the starter.
This is the angle we're going for, so you're saying JunJia makes at least one of those steals happen, or all of them?
All of them.
Okay. This is the campaign we're going with. Okay, I see you. Let's see where this player of the game ends up going, and they are going to end up giving it towards ZDZ. Gotta respect it. 2 games now where each top laner has gotten to manhandle the other, and use it en route to a player of the game.
I mean, it's well deserved. I think both the solo laners had a really good game, and my train to try and maybe get Parukia as player of the game, it was a small one. It wasn't one that was probably going to be very popular, but alas, wanted to give him his flowers. And I do think that you talk about the top laners each performing very well in the games that their respective teams won, but I feel like the supports have really been going band for band with each other as well. So want to make sure that we also shout them out, just being able to play to their win conditions and make sure that they minimize any of the plays the opposite team is trying to go for them. I think game 1, Vampire was very, very good at that.
Well, supports getting a deserved shout out from Quax, but not the voters. Saw some votes go there over towards JunJia, one as well towards Bulldog, but the resounding thought here being that EDG did bounce back quite well after a drubbing in game number 1. Definitely took a bit longer than they might have liked, but it's still the same sentiment. We are going to a game 3 here, the final regular season matchup for both of our teams. JDG and EDG will go the distance. That fabled final draft will be on the other side of this intermission. We'll see you guys there.